And as entrepreneurs, you don't give up. And multiple times I have failed, but that failure has helped me substantially in my subsequent journey. It is a war for talent. Many entrepreneurs, they underestimate the need for good talent. My answer is, if you want to grow up, your role changes from doing things to getting things done. I don't go to temples, but I believe a lot that there is some superpower existing. I have to do the right things. And if I do the right things, I don't need to go to temples. I stepped down a little earlier than what I had originally thought. If you enjoy doing what business you're building, then the whole question of work-life balance
I entirely agree with you on this.
Is completely eliminated.
Yes. Harsh, it's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you, Chanda. Thank you for inviting me.
No, absolute pleasure. I think your journey with Marico and over your business has been really incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you took something which was a family business,
Yes.
a small commodity business, and transformed it into a large FMCG company. And with brands that did not only become household names, but actually stood the competition of multinationals and actually gave them run for their money.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure everybody's excited to hear about your journey, to learn from your journey. So let's begin with the beginning of your journey.
Mm-hmm.
You entered your family business absolutely without any business management degree, without really having professionals to even guide you. So you kind of figured out your own way of learning on the job. Take us through that journey of yours.
So you're absolutely right, Chanda. I joined a business which was completely family managed. And I'm just a commerce graduate. I have not studied management or any postgraduate studies post my graduation. I wanted to, but my father said no. I couldn't get admission into the management schools at that time, which is IIM, Ahmedabad, Calcutta, and Bajaj.
Now they're regretting and they lost out on one great alumni that they could have had.
I don't know about that, but I think looking back, it was a good thing to do. My father was worried that if I went abroad, I wanted to go to US to study MBA, and he says, no, you'll never come back. So I don't know what was going in his mind. But I think those days as kids, we were far more obedient than today's kids. So I readily agreed, okay, I will not study further. But as I said, looking back, it has been a good thing because my desire to learn has improved dramatically. And I said, if I have to build a business which is managed by good talent, who are capable, who are qualified, I should be able to talk the same language and understand what they're saying.
Right.
So from day one, I have taken steps to go on learning, and I've done so many short-term management programs, interacted with thought leaders, read hundreds of books on management. So today I can speak to any management graduate at a level playing field, So I think it's good, and I think that learning has continued till today. And I think learning is very important. That curiosity, learning, what can you do differently? What can you learn? So by reading books, I still have that same learning mindset, which is a good thing. And I think that has helped me a lot.
You used to do your trips to Ahmedabad, and you used to learn from professors. You used to meet Karsan Bhai Patel. Yeah,
so I think Karsan Bhai Patel I met much later. That I'll talk about it when we had a threat from levers. But in the initial phases, as you rightly mentioned, there were no professionals. It was a completely family-managed organization, and my father and my uncles were managing that business, and I was let loose in terms of doing whatever I wanted to do. So at one level, I had all the freedom to explore, but there was nobody to guide me. And I realized very quickly that certain basics which are required to manage a business were not present. For example, even things like appointment letter or, for in HR, none systems were there. So I started working with individuals who could help me.
Okay.
Our office was located in the heart of commodity markets, which is Masjid Bandar, which is the most chaotic place in the world, I would say. It's so dirty and so much crowd that whenever I used to call people to be interviewed, half the time those individuals ran away saying, we don't want to join a company which is located in such a locality. So I had to find answers, and I said, okay, now So I started calling them to Wellington Club. And once, twice, slowly said that, okay, we are at this location, but it's a matter of time. We will shift the location. So I think that worked. And as entrepreneurs, you don't give up,
Right.
And every person will have certain hindrances, certain roadblocks. You have to find some alternative ways.
True.
So, and that talent was more at the middle level. At senior levels, we could not afford talent, but at the same time, we wanted that input. So I had identified virtually for each of the functions a thought leader who could help me.
Okay.
So in marketing, as you rightly put it, I identified Professor Labdi Bhandari, who was head of marketing at that time in IIM Ahmedabad.
Okay.
And I approached him and I said that I want your help. He says, yes, I can help you, but I have one condition. I am very busy through the day.
Okay.
Only way I can help you is if you come in the evening flight. I'll spend all the night with you and you go back next morning.
Oh.
So multiple times I've gone to IIM Ahmedabad in the evening flight, spent, if not the whole night, at least most of the night, discussing issues with him, and then came back next morning. So you have to bend backwards to make that happen. And I think that's worked out quite well.
That's right. So it's even for the younger generation that's entering the family business. I think it's not just about a formal degree. It's about how you find your ways of learning and learning the ropes of business.
True, absolutely. And how do you have to manage, and being a family managed organization, family dynamics are very, very important, depending on the family and the dynamics, and at what generation you're dealing with. Elder generation, next generation. And normally change comes in when the next generation comes in, I've seen.
Right.
Any family managed company, when the next generation comes in, they have a different set of ambitions, capability to look at future. And I think that they try and bring in some change.
But this is a very important point that you're raising, because what happens generally in businesses that are run through generations, there's they get used to some set ways of running a business.
Correct.
And there are family patriarchs, they have their ways of running business.
Yes.
And then the new generation comes, they have some good ideas, they have new ideas, but there's some constraints in putting them in place.
You are absolutely right. I think it's very important for the family to explore and give opportunities especially for individuals who come with some different ideas. Because ultimately, if the family has to be united, then you have to get the best out of each person.
Yes.
And I think that culture of openness, of looking at each individual, their aspirations and their suggestions, is very much a part and parcel of a good family managed company.
But you actually had that thing of bringing in new ideas in your business. So,
but at one level, I got an opportunity at the family level also to explore. Of course, there were limitations in the sense that people were regarded as costs and not as assets. So whenever you recruited a talent which was more expensive, can we afford that person? So always I had to, and without lack of experience, I had to take a step and prove myself that, okay, I've recruited this person at a higher cost, whether it's paying off. So every time that payback in terms of the extra cost would
had to be
there. So one had
evaluated
to
and
go
proven.
a little gradually, in terms of expansion also, for example, distribution expansion. We started with Maharashtra, then Gujarat, whole of West. And then it took almost 5-6 years for us to expand our distribution network all India. Because one had to go in phases, take one step, prove that you're on the right track, and then expand to other states.
Yeah, so this is also, again, a very important lesson, I think, for the younger generation, that if you have to bring about changes and you have to simultaneously manage your family ties, go a little gradually. It's fine, but inch your way through, and then
need not be gradual. Chanda, it all depends on what are the opportunities in the marketplace. And sometimes doing it too gradually, you may miss out on the speed.
Yeah.
So in this case, but I think getting the family aligned is very, very important.
Yes.
So you have the right balance between what is needed for the business and how do you align the family.
Right. Because again, it's not so easy to kind of just jump into a family business, because from the outside world, I think it looks very good. Oh, this person has his family business running through generations. He has to do nothing. Just go to the family office and start working. But frankly, what you're trying to do is to manage your family ties
Yes.
and your professional work. So you have to keep harmony at home.
Correct.
And I think you have to keep productivity in office.
Absolutely
So
right.
how do you manage that? How do you balance that?
So I think a lot depends on how many family members are there in business.
Okay.
And at what generation, In my case, my father, 3 of my uncles. At that time, my grandfather also was alive. So I had to, these were when I started, but over a period of time, as time passed by, 5 of my cousins joined business. So at a time, there were like 8 or 9 family members in the business, and that can be quite complex.
Right.
Unless the business is very large, where, each family member is parked in one company. Because when you have so many family members, there would be questions about what is the exact role, how is the equation between the family members. Professionals would start hesitate to join that kind of an organization because there is a fear that, okay, how are the relations? Will there be a dual reporting relationship?
Right. Yeah.
So I think a lot depends on the family and the business, but it is something which is you need to navigate in the right way so that, the best comes out of it.
And have role clarity for the family members.
True.
Moving on from, say, family business to entrepreneurship in general, because now it's no longer just only family businesses. There are many young people who are moving away from this 9-to-5 job culture and, setting up their own enterprises and so on, and lots of startups.
Yes.
But what is the advice that you would give them in terms of, how should they have this mindset of building a business that lasts with the focus, the patience, given the kind of competition and, the business stresses that we have?
Yes. So I think I would start off by saying that each person has some God-given gifts.
Okay.
And most of us or many of us don't know what is our God-given gift. I think I would start by a very fundamental exercise with my friends or my family or whoever knows me. What are my God-given gifts? Because all of us also have blind spots. I may have some gift, but I may not know that I have that gift. So determine that, and then I am a strong believer in the fact that you need to leverage your strengths. Of course, all of us have weaknesses, but can we apply a 75-25 rule where 75% of my efforts will go in strengthening my strengths?
Okay.
Unless there are some fatal flaws, I will concentrate more on strengths. So the business or my career or whatever I want to do in life, it should be based on my strengths. Because if I do that, then to me, whatever work I do, I'll enjoy. And I'll be very good at it. And there will not be any issue of work-life balance. Because if you enjoy doing what business you're building, then the whole question of work-life balance
I entirely agree with you on this.
is completely eliminated.
Yes.
So, having said that, I think it's very competitive. And I think the key thing is to find out what will make you win in the marketplace. So, whatever business you want to do, it has to be differentiated. It cannot be a Me Too business which is run by 10 other people. Unless you have a differentiator. And differentiator could be narrow, it should make sense to the final consumer. So you need to differentiate through innovation, through some pioneering initiative, depending again on the kind of business one is in. In the consumer product business, whenever we have innovated in Marico, we have seen a and if that innovation has succeeded, many times it has failed also, I would say. Whenever it has succeeded, it has had a discontinuous impact on the growth of the company. So I'm a big believer in innovation, on pioneering initiative, in doing something different. And it's not just when you start that you have to be different, but it's a matter of time others will copy you. You have to be 2 steps ahead of others. What can you go on doing differently on a perpetual basis? How do you create a culture of innovation where you'll go on doing things continuously as you grow? So I think the starting point is that what will be different, which makes sense to your final customer or consumer. It should have a certain critical mass in terms of opportunity. It should be able to scale up. It cannot be very small in terms of the scale. And once, I think all that comes in, starts with an idea, but that idea has to be developed. So you need to critique that idea with somebody else who can say, okay, why don't you look at this? And then do some consumer insighting if it is a consumer product. Find out what is the need. You develop the proposition up to a certain point by discussions with consumers, with other colleagues, whoever can help you. And then we believe in prototyping, that okay, you have idea, then you, if it is a product, there are various aspects of the product which need to be tested out. So starting with the brand name, the packaging, the product itself, the pricing, the promotion, the advertising in terms of demand generation, how big is the opportunity. So we believe that, you need to develop that and prototype that in one market.
Okay.
Which will do two things. One, it will reduce your risk if you compare to if you do it on a national basis, because the stakes or the money required to launch a product in a city or a state is much lesser. And then you treat that as a live market research, because you're testing your hypothesis in that market with the consumer, and you're testing everything, all the variables I mentioned earlier. And if need be, you are actually making changes concurrently, whether it is in packaging or pricing,
Right.
until you achieve certain action standards. You need to define action standards that by being in, say, a city like Bombay, I want to achieve X turnover. Until I achieve that turnover, I will go on trying. Once I achieve, then I will try and roll it out to Maharashtra or all India, depending again on the stakes. So I believe in prototyping. I believe in experimenting. And in all this, I think there is a certain fear of failure which should not happen, because unless you fail, you not learn. And multiple times I have failed, but that failure has helped me substantially in my subsequent journey. And of course, market research, you can do all that, but beyond a point, you cannot gauge consumer response through market research. I am a big believer in prototyping compared to market research, because you are actually testing hypotheses in the live marketplace.
Right. So, how do you gauge what a customer wants? Whether it's a new product, whether it's a change in an existing product. You're saying prototyping is what really takes you there. But how do you get the signals that this brand is not working?
If you get an early signal that whatever you're doing is not getting traction, and you don't want to, there is no way you can achieve action standards which you laid down, then you have an option of either canning that prototype or reducing your expectation. But I think you should, as I said, it's a live market research, and you should, depending on what are the response, you change the variables or you relook at your what you want to achieve from that line.
Any examples from your journey where you took a brand and totally...
Many times, many times. But I'll give you, one I'll talk about a failure, and one I'll talk about a area where we thought the concept was good. So we had, Saffola as a brand, which is our brand, which is good for heart, good for anything connected to the heart. So we said that there is high incidence of heart, and there is a huge connection between food and heart, and food and diabetes. So can we have a range of atta mixes, which will can be added to atta, diabetic atta mix, cardiac atta mix. We thought we had a good concept. Concept was good, but we realized that the people were not willing to buy their atta mix it in their atta, and the scale was much, much below what we expected. There was good traction, but not good enough. So we decided that it's okay. The idea was good, but didn't have that kind of scale. So we'll can that launch. I'll talk of another launch under the brand name Saffola, which happened about 10 or 12 years back. We identified baked snacks, and that time there were no baked snacks in the Indian market, as a way to leverage through the brand Saffola. So, of course, the product development, marketing, they worked on a proposition. And because it was under the brand name Saffola, the team decided to give far more importance to health compared to taste. Now, in a category like snacks, which is a very impulsive category, where you want to have a snack with your evening tea or with a drink or whatever. Taste is the most important thing. Health comes secondary. So that product didn't do that. And
so it has to be tasty for sure. First. And then if you can make it healthy, very good. Yes.
So we had to can that. But I think the learning from that came in our subsequent launches, where we launched oats under the brand name Saffola. So when you launched oats, we were competing with the likes of Kellogg's and Quaker, and we got something like 10-15% market share. And we said that we are not happy with this. And I think if you look at our portfolio of products or all our brands we have, in all our brands, we are market leaders in that particular segment. So I'm a big believer in getting scale and market leadership, because if you are a market leader, then there are huge advantages in terms of your ability to price the products and when there is inflation, or getting economies of scale, or in leveraging your presence in the retail or in the e-commerce or Q-com. So market leadership gives you discontinuous impact on your financials. So we were not happy with 10-15% market share, and there was nothing differentiated in our proposition compared to the other oats which were offered by the big players. So we again went back to the consumer and we said that, what do you want? What do you like in oats? And Indian consumers said, we want savory oats. We don't want sweet oats. So, and then we looked at what Maggi had done with the noodles. So we said that, okay, can we come out with a range of savory oats? Now that earlier experience of launching Saffola snacks was behind us. So we said, now we have to go overboard on taste. So in India, each state has a different taste profile.
Right.
So we actually profiled tastes virtually for each state.
Okay.
And we developed a range of savory oats, which was suited to that particular taste profile. You know? So we launched in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, we had Pongal oats.
Okay.
And then it has met with a very good response.
Right.
Our market share in savory oats is now 80%.
Oh.
And it's become a big category itself. And because of that trial generation in savory oats, our market share in plain oats also has gone. And now if you combine both, we are market leaders.
Wow. Okay.
So I think that failure in the earlier snacks has really helped us.
Yeah, you're talking to a consumer of that kind, in the sense that I never tried Saffola snacks, but I do have Saffola oats. Yes. In your view, then, what is market leadership? I mean, is it that you just need to be larger than the next brand, or is it that...
I would say that we personally prefer dominant market share. Dominant means at least 40-50% market. You're a clear market leader, and there is at least a difference of 10-20% between you and the next player.
Okay.
Because that makes a strong brand. Even if there is a strong competition coming in, the stronger brand gets impacted much later compared to a weaker brand. So from all angles, you need to have... So my definition of market leadership is above 40% market share. Dominant market share, I would say.
Coming back to the startups, which we were talking about, as you said, just having an idea is not good enough. You have to put in all that hard work to create a sustainable business. When the entrepreneurs start, what should they focus on? Should they focus on valuations, which are today, all over the place, some multiples of maybe just the top line? Or should they focus on the bottom line, creating sustainable cash flows, something that will last for years? How?
So I think before I answer your question, I'll cover that. But I would just say that I'll continue in my right to win. Once something is succeeding with the consumer, you feel that you have a certain viable business opportunity. I think the most important thing is to get good talent, I would say.
Yes.
And I think many entrepreneurs, they underestimate the need for good talent.
Yes.
The need to delegate, empower. There is a war for talent, and they have to treat talent as important as succeeding in the marketplace. So attraction talent, retention of talent, creating the culture where talent will thrive is very, very important.
You are so right, because I think the entrepreneurs, when they start, they are hands-on with every aspect of the business, and rightly so, and with a lot of passion. But gradually, as business grows, you're right, you need to delegate. And that is where I think these entrepreneurs, they find it difficult to let go. They feel they're losing control. They probably feel they cannot trust the team. They find it difficult to attract talent. So,
So you're absolutely right. I mentor a lot of entrepreneurs, and key issues are, how can I attract good talent? How can I delegate? What are the risks in delegation? So there is a fear of, how can I leave my business in somebody else's hands?
Right.
My answer is, if you want to grow up, your role changes from doing things to getting things done.
Absolutely.
And that's very, very different. Then you're not doing things directly. You are recruiting a team of cross-functional team which reports to you, and the whole way you have to manage business is very different. Then you have to look at processes, interfunctional coordination, motivating team. So I think most entrepreneurs don't take that step. And if they don't take that step, the business may have very good opportunity, but it will not get scaled up.
Right.
And these are fears of what will happen to my business.
Yes, it's like their baby.
There is no other option. You have to. If you don't do that, then you remain small.
Yes.
And then you're stretched in terms of time, because there is a certain limited amount of time you can work.
Yes.
And then beyond a point, then it will impact your business.
That's right.
Now, coming to your other question, in terms of valuations versus scale, I personally am a big believer in getting a certain minimum scale. Is important. I, for one, believe that valuation is a matter of time. If it succeeds, in the short run, depending on the kind of business you are in, it's okay to sacrifice profitability to get that scale. And we've done that multiple times. When you launch a new product, especially in our kind of business, you need to put in big money in advertising and marketing. So there is no way you can break even in year 1, year 2, year 3. Normally, the time frame for breaking even is on an average about 4 or 5 years. But you need to have visibility that, okay, if I break even in year 5, what will be the profitability at that time? So you are bearing short-term losses, but with a clear visibility of when will the brand break even and what kind of money you will make subsequently. Because then onward, you should say, okay, I'll make a 10%, whatever, profit. It should make business sense. So growth, but supported by a certain visibility of profitability, which should make a business sense. Moment all that is done, then valuations will happen. But I can't understand businesses which go on growing and the loss also goes on growing, which is very difficult. So in my opinion, as the business grows, the loss has to come down.
Yes.
And at some stage, visibility of profitability should come in. But there should be some sacrifice in terms of, in the short run, to reach that scale.
So yeah, you're saying in the short run, it's okay to keep investing to reach that scale. But so right, that ultimately you should have that sustainable model in your vision. And when you're reaching that, and you have to track that are you on track to actually reach there? Because you may set a 3-year target and then you can keep on going and you can make the 3 years into 6 years. And
So I would say profitable growth over a period of time, not just growth by itself.
That's right. Because sometimes I feel that these kind of valuations actually become a distraction for these new entrepreneurs.
Now it's getting corrected in the system also. I think the expectations are changing amongst the funders.
That's true. I was going through your book, The Harsh Realities. I think a very well written book.
Thank you.
But there you've spoken about sense of purpose. That every organization should have a purpose. Because I think what it means is that the whole organization kind of moves in that direction also. But again, talking of startups and entrepreneurs, when they're just kind of struggling to put their business model together. How can they see this larger purpose of their business?
So you are absolutely right. In the initial stages of an organization's journey, you can't do too many things. And at that time, you need the right strategy. You need the right way to win. You want to win in the marketplace. You need the right talent. I think the issue of purpose comes in a little later once you have established yourself. Because ultimately, at some stage, the organization's role is to look at all the stakeholders and not just shareholders. So, because all stakeholders are interlinked, if I do something good for an employee of mine, and if that person or all the employees, they are self-motivated, the impact on the business performance will be much higher because I've done something extraordinary for them, much more than what other organizations have done. Similarly, if I do something with one of my associates, for example, we've sent our ad agency people to our training programs at our cost. Now, nobody else does it. So they realize that, okay, we've done something which is unusual. Their motivation working with us will be much higher. That will result in better impact on our growth, profitability. And all other stakeholders will benefit. So whether it is your consumers, your associates, your employees, of course, your shareholders, and the society also. Because if you create the right image in the society, in terms of governance, in terms of giving something back, in terms of responsible corporate citizen, you will attract better talent. You will get better board members to join you, So I think all of them are interlinked, and I think organizations should realize that all the stakeholders are interlinked, and the organization exists for the benefit of all stakeholders and not just shareholders. We've seen in examples of Enron and many others where only the shareholders or the key management people who are getting benefit, and they've not done well. So I'm a big believer in the organization's purpose. For us, we spend some time internally in debating what should be our purpose, and we define it as make a difference to all the stakeholders. So we go out of our way to have an impact on all the stakeholders, and it's a part and parcel of organization's journey.
And I think you were one of the first ones to introduce this concept of stakeholders' interest. I mean, I remember in all our corporate histories, we've moved from this, talking about just shareholder interest to stakeholder interest.
We've been doing it for the last 30 years.
Yes, but you were one of the first ones to really talk about it.
But I think now it's getting traction.
Yes.
Especially during COVID times, realize that you have to be far more empathy as to come in. Your leadership style also need to change. So I think a lot more organizations are now looking at purpose seriously. But it has to be defined seriously. There has to be awareness, and I think every person or every member in the organization plays an important role in driving that purpose.
True.
But sometimes, I mean, some organizations have gone a little overboard, and then I think strategy also is important. So you need to have the right balance between the strategy and the purpose.
And everybody being aligned to that purpose.
Yeah. So I think there are three parts to my organization. One is, what is the strategy of the organization? Why will you win in the marketplace? Number two, what will make you win in terms of the right talent and the culture? And number three, what is the purpose of the organization?
So let's talk about Marico and Parachute. A commodity business, something that was sold in 5-liter tins.
Yes.
From there to, plastic bottles, small sachets, consumer brand, household name, giving Unilever a run for their money. Not only that, finally buying up, Unilever's coconut oil brand. So just tell us, about that journey.
So Parachute was the main brand which after I started, it was there first in big tins mainly. And within the family, our business in edible oil was mostly unbranded. And I realized that being unbranded was not giving us enough margins. The business was dependent on the raw material prices. And being a commodity, the margins were very, very low. So at that time, I realized that if I can convert that business from unbranded to branded, I think the business will become far more profitable. It will grow. And we had these two brands already, but most of it was sold in big tins, or it was not distributed. Many of my family members, I decided to pursue the same brand name, Parachute, in small packs. And many of them told me, please, it's the wrong brand name. But I don't know why. I thought it's okay to continue. It's more, I was comfortable with it.
Okay.
So I decided to continue. And looking back, it has been a good decision. It has not had, the brand name has not impacted us. So I started off with converting from large pack to small packs. At that time, our quality was much better than other players. So quality played a very important role in getting aroma. And I started traveling into interior markets. My first trip was started with Nagpur, and then went to all interior towns, smaller towns, Yavatmal, Varda, Amravati. I used to travel a lot. There were no recruited a sales supervisor. So I was doing market work in terms of appointing distributors, retailing the products. And in many cases, when in a town there were no good hotels, I have stayed with my distributors at their houses.
Okay.
So very much ground level work, on the ground. And that has given me a good grip in terms of how distribution gets done.
Right.
So I think it grew from Maharashtra, it grew to Gujarat, and then over 5-7 years, all India distribution network. But then we started expanding into smaller packs. So we had 5 liter, 2 liter, 1 liter, 500 ml, 200 ml, 100 ml, 20 ml, and sachet. And because different people use it for different reasons, and we needed to expand it. Coconut oil is a very big category. Everybody uses coconut oil in India. Whether it's rich or middle class or poor class, and across India, and across all ages. So
And across, whether it's for hair or it's even edible. Yeah.
edible also, yeah.
Hmm.
So we saw a big opportunity. At that time, most coconut oil was in loose form. So, and I believed that with the economic growth of India, people will shift to pack because of various reasons. It's convenient. You don't have to take your bottle to get the loose oil. It's purer. So there's assurance of quality. The quality of the aroma also is better. So it's a matter of time. We'll be able to increase from loose to pack. But as I said earlier, we were able to get some market share gain. And then we were stagnating. And that time we innovated that. So the whole market was in tins. And we said that can we convert that market into plastics? Because plastics is cheaper, is relatively more attractive, is more convenient to a consumer. So we thought we had a winner on hand. But in consumer products, normally you do insighting. You insight with the consumers and you also insight with the trade, because ultimately the products are going to reach the consumer through the trade. So the consumer was happy that yes, we can, it's okay to buy, it's convenient, it's cheaper also. But when we went to the retailers and distributors, realized that there was a huge hesitation from them. Okay. Because prior to us, maybe 10 years prior to us, somebody else had launched coconut oil in plastics, and it was a square-shaped bottle and lot of oil on the outer surface of the bottle. And when the retailers shut their shop in the evenings and opened next morning, realized that most of that coconut oil in plastics was eaten by rats. So they were completely reluctant to stock Parachute in plastics. But you never give up as entrepreneurs. So we said, okay, what do you do? So they went to the packaging vendor, told them to design a bottle which was a round shape where the rat will find it difficult to get a grip. Went to our packaging department saying that, okay, ensure that there is not a single drop of oil on the outer surface of the bottle. We did all that and we said that now we need to test it out. So we actually got a rat cage where we put some rats and put some plastic bottles to know what is happening. And then luckily nothing happened. So I think with that we were very, very confident. And we took pictures of that. We gave it to all our field force and showed them this is what we've done. And we also gave an assurance to the trader once in a while, if there is a damage, we'll compensate you. Okay. That worked. And then we came out with multiple innovations in plastics, wide mouth bottles for winter. But I think over a period of time, and then we went on advertising plastics over tins and priced it lower than tins because of lower packaging cost. And our market share just jumped up from 15% to 50% over a period of 4 years. So that really was a big revelation to me. And then after a few years, we went to, when we started our international expansion, we said, let's see what's happening in neighboring countries. And we realized that in Bangladesh, which is a very big market for coconut oil, everything was in tins. And whatever we had done here, can we do it there? So we innovated in Bangladesh. And today we have an 80% market share in Bangladesh. And we are the largest, I think, Indian company in Bangladesh quoted on the Dhaka Stock Exchange. So I'm saying that innovation has played a very important role. Absolutely. But the brand has become stronger, partly because of innovations, partly because of wide range. Also the coconut oil quality. And then we have built in that high degree of emotion with the brand, where people are associated with the brand and connected through equity of coconut. So I think all that has worked well. And over a period of time, now we've gone to brand extension. So it's a very large brand by Indian market. I have to tell you one more thing. Whenever I've spoken at any event, and whenever there's a question answer session at that event, I talked about the story of how we succeeded because of plastics, and invariably a question would come. I mean, you did that at that
environment.
time.
I was just going to ask you that. Yes.
So that was really hurting me when I went on hearing that question the last 3-4 years. And I told, we have a Marico Innovation Foundation. I told the team that, I mean, we need to do something on that front. So we, about 2 years back, we did a study on innovations in plastic in India. How do you reduce plastics usage? How do you reuse plastics? And how do you replace plastics? So we had 15 innovators and we came with a report, which to some extent, when they scale up, they will have an impact. But again, not happy. Can we do something more? So we identified a party in Hyderabad, which is in recycling. And we have had negotiations with them over last 6-8 months. And now we have decided to partner them.
Okay.
And some of the innovators who were in that report, they are going to use their recycling machines. These are high-speed recycling machines, AI-enabled. And they will be able to recycle the complete waste, again, depending on what type, different types of plastics, different makes of brands. So you will segregate everything and then we'll grind it. And, if you can have a circular, that if I, as a parachute, tell that, okay, I'm selling it to you, I'm collecting the plastic waste from my own bottles, grinding and again reusing it. I have a good story.
Yeah.
So that prototype is happening in Hyderabad and Raipur, and looks very attractive financially and otherwise also, in terms of this confidence level of the team is high. If that is successful, then we should be able to roll out these kind of machines all over India.
Oh.
And to hopefully, to some extent, we'll be able to reduce the plastic wastage and going into the environment.
That will be fantastic.
So
and
this
then,
again goes out to the purpose of the organization.
That's
that,
right.
okay, you can't treat all your stakeholders. You have to look at society. And, all the issues facing.
Yes. And then that can become a benchmark for the other industries also which use plastic.
True.
Yeah. Tell me one thing. When Keki Dadisit from Unilever called you and said that he wants to buy Parachute,
Yes.
what made you actually refuse that offer? Because at that stage it would have appeared very, attractive, and then you have a giant, but you must be having some courage, some conviction, some grit, some strategy in mind, when you put down that phone call and said, no, I'm not going to sell to you.
At one level, I am a little mad, I would say. I would dogged and obstinate. But I think
that's required for entrepreneurs, yes.
But I'll tell you the story. This happened in the year 1997, around 97 or 98 maybe. So we had just gone public. And when we went public, we... at that time, we just had two brands, Saffola and Parachute. We were perceived as a branded commodities player.
Okay.
So the price to earning multiple at that time, when we went public, was something like 13 or 14, as compared to other FMCG companies that, like Levers and all, at 40 or so. So we were not valued as we should have been. But, nonetheless. And then Levers had acquired Tata Oil Mill Company. As a part of that acquisition, one of the brands which came to them was Tata Nihar. They had many other brands. And that time the leadership in Levers also changed to Mr. Dadiset. Now, being a finance person, the mindset of a finance person is growth through acquisitions.
Yes.
So, of course, that is fine. There's no issue at all. But I think when you have a new leader, normally we determine what is the genetic coding of that individual.
Okay.
If he's a competitor.
Okay.
So what will that person do? For example, if Trump is coming in, what will he do? Or when Dadiset comes, what will he do? So it's very critical that he will drive growth through acquisition, which is fine.
And especially then if you see a company where the multiples are so low, it's an attractive acquisition.
Yeah, but that time we had a 60% shareholding, so we were not vulnerable from acquisition in terms of predatory acquisition. But can you cause fear? And of course, they were much bigger than us. We were at that time doing a turnover of something like 700 or 800 crores, and they were doing maybe 10 times that turnover. We didn't have a strong rural distribution network. And their ability to spend money through advertising, marketing was like much, much higher. So there were multiple routes to reach me, bankers.
Okay.
Others, why did you sell out, Mr. Mariwala? Was interested in buying. Otherwise, they'll be aggressive, you'll not be able to face. So there's a combination of fear and hope in terms of financial. And
the bankers always want to create a business proposition.
Correct. So then I said, no, I don't want to sell, But then at some stage, it getting more and more serious, Then Mr. Dadiset phoned me up one day. At that time, there were no mobiles. So I remember phoning up, saying, Mr. Mariwala, please sell out. Otherwise, all your future generations will be taken care of financially. So I said, yeah, that's fine, but I'm not into money. Money doesn't motivate me. But still, I have to decide something which I should be able to take them on. It shouldn't happen that I'm obstinate and then I lose the battle and I lose the business and I lose an opportunity of making money also.
Yeah.
So went much in detail, and I discussed with my co-author in the book, Professor Ramcharan. He says, and we went through in detail and saying you have to protect your resource generating engine. That was our resource generating. So whatever is required, you have to take them on in terms of pricing, margins, advertising, distribution. And if need be, you give a guidance to the capital markets that for 1 or 2, 3 years, you will not grow, and which we did. Our share prices fell. Our price to earning multiples came down from 13, 14 to 8 or so. Because people thought that we will not be able to take them on. And then I had met Uday Kotak. And Uday said, why don't you talk to Karsan Bhai? Karsan Bhai at that time was riding high because he had taken through his brand Nirma wheel. So I went Ahmedabad specially to meet him in terms of what should I be doing. And after detailed discussion, we concluded that we should take them on. So what I'm saying, yes, there was some degree of obstinacy within me, but it was supported by a lot of dialogues, discussions, also discussions with my team, and planned out the whole strategy. And one other thing which Professor Ramcharan said was that in your business, this will get top attention, starting from you to your team. This threat from competition. In levers, it's a part of 30 other brands. It'll get delegated to 2 or 3 levels lower than the chairman. So, your competency in terms of levels, ability to make decisions is much more.
That's right.
So we decided to take them on. We improved our quality in terms of clarity. We also went rural by appointing super distributors. And then we created advertising which had a very high emotional element in it. And it connected with the coconut, and coconut is a very auspicious fruit, When you enter a house, you break a coconut. So we had that kind of association with the brand. So that worked well. And then finally we had to motivate our field force because they were also feeling a little demotivated. We did all that, and then Levers launched their product not once but 2, 3 times. They gained some market share. They were up at some stage, they were I think 12 to 14% market. And at some stage they started, then the leadership in Levers changed. Then it started getting less and less attention. So their market share went on falling from 12, 14 to 8, 10%. And at that time I used to interact with the next level of leadership and told them that why are you continuing, you're not attending to that. In the earlier part, I just forgot to mention that we were not impacted in terms of, they got 12, 14%, but they impacted the weaker players. And that brand is strong relatively in the East compared to other parts of India. So we took them on, and at some stage they started losing it. And then I used to tell them, why don't you sell it all? Thinking that they would come to me to buy that brand. At some stage that realization came in that they should sell. So they did a smart thing by putting the brand on the block by creating an auction, wherein all the Indian FMCG players bidded for the brand. But we were very clear that for us it was a consolidation play. We would increase our market share to 60% or so. And it would help us in the Eastern market where our market share was relatively lower. And we had to go all out to get that brand. So we overbid in terms of our valuation. We went all the way to the valuation. Normally you keep a reserve of 10, 20% compared to the valuation. The board said go all the way. And because we went all the way, we were far higher than other bidders. And because we were far higher, Levers may have got a surprise at the valuation. So they didn't ask for a rebid or re-auction. So we got the deal. So from actually being sellers to them, we bought their brand, and it's worked out wonderfully well. The brand valuation have just shot up because the brand has done exceedingly well for us. So it's been a very good acquisition for us.
No, absolutely. I think this has been an incredible thing. But, as I said, it's not just stubbornness. You had that, at least that grit and courage to say you will work out a strategy. And that was very, very imminent because ultimately, instead of selling out to them, you acquired their brand. Fantastic. of course, this is all the journey on consumer brands, and but through this journey, you have really witnessed how the entire marketing distribution, landscape has changed. When you started out, when we all started out our careers, marketing and distribution for a consumer brand was building the physical distribution network, the stockists, the dealerships, and so on, advertising on billboards. But now with e-commerce, quick commerce, and technology, I mean, it's an entirely different way how you reach the consumer, how you sell to the consumer. So how did you adapt to that change?
You're absolutely right, Chanda. In the last maybe 5-7 years, things have changed dramatically. FMCG as a sector was perceived to be the most defensive sector, not vulnerable to competition because there were so many entry barriers. Entry barriers in terms of all India distribution network, number of shops we are selling could be 2 million, 3 million, depending on the product we are selling. So any new player
would take a lot of time to build that.
Very, very difficult. You have to advertise on mass media, television, press. You need budgets of 20, 30, 50 crores. So virtually prior to this, because of very high entry barriers, it was perceived to be a defensive sector. Now, emergence of e-commerce comes in. All of a sudden, your ad budgets have dropped down to maybe 1 crore, 2 crore. Digital marketing comes in. You don't need to distribute. You can sell it to e-commerce and now to Q-commerce also. And then the modern trade came in. So the whole sector has been disrupted dramatically in the last few years. I couldn't have imagined if you asked me 10 years back, this could happen. But I think there are two ways of looking at this, Chanda. One is to say that, okay, let me protect myself against this threat of this so-called D2C brands, direct-to-consumer brands. Another is to say, I will also use this as an opportunity. So in Marico, we've always looked at it, any discontinuity, of course, you have to cover your threats, but can you look at it from an opportunistic lens? So we have acquired in the last 3 years, 4 D2C brands. We have also have our own brands. So we have 6 D2C brands in our portfolio today. And the approach required to manage D2C brands is very, very different compared to the traditional FMCG brand. You have limited budgets. You have to move much faster. All DG scores and Q score and whatever digital marketing competencies need to come in. So from day one, we've said that if you want to succeed, you have to have a separate team.
Okay.
You can't load your current team, which has a certain mindset and certain competencies. Managing the competencies required and the mindset required, this is very, very different. At a different location, much, much younger. And the acquisition and this worked out so well that we have created a good business. It is getting very good scale. It is far more profitable compared to many other D2C businesses. And we see a big opportunity. We see it going to 1,000 crores soon. So it's worked out well. And I think then we have cross-learning sessions between FMCG and D2C brands in terms of what can we learn from each other. And then at some stage of D2C brands, we also start distributing the products physically. So it becomes omni-channel.
Okay.
And we understand distribution. So all in all, I think that step to create a separate D2C business, acquiring those 4 brands, launching your own brands, has worked out extremely well for us. And I don't think any other FMCG has gone this aggressive as Marico compared to any other FMCG company.
Yeah, because as you said, this is a very different concept.
Correct.
It comes with its own risks. So you have to implement it in such a manner that you're avoiding some of the mistakes that can actually lead to the risk. But, you said this very interesting point that you created a separate team and you made them, work on it. Because I always believe that you've done so many product innovations, but any organization that does an innovation in a product, what is the backbone behind it is the business practice. There have to be innovative ways of running the business so that your culture of innovation can thrive.
True.
So I think, this is one of the practices that you spoke about, that you create a separate team and you make them focus on something.
So what we call remove escape buttons, and critical organizational initiatives which are very critical for you to succeed and which are different compared to your core business. you have to remove escape button by ensuring that you don't give that responsibility of that new initiative to the current team. That is the crux. Now, whenever, I'll give you one more example of removing escape buttons. We wanted to go international. And at that time, very small percentage of our business was international. And the responsibility of driving international business was with the Indian business head, sales head, marketing head. And invariably, it would not get the right attention because India being a large country, they had to service Indian market, grow an Indian market, and it would have escaped but that okay, India is so big, so we couldn't attend to Bangladesh or any other neighboring markets. Until one fine day we realized that if we have to grow international business, we have to create a separate structure. So we recruited a senior, capable person, head of international business with a very small base of international business, but that person's role was to create a larger international business. So when that person joined, we identified opportunities in Bangladesh, we launched Bangladesh, we identified opportunities in the Middle East, and then we did a lot of scouting around in terms of other markets we want to be, narrowed a few markets, briefed bankers, we acquired what we call proactive acquisitions. We briefed the banker, we want to acquire this brand. So we acquired 2 brands in Egypt, 2-3 brands in Vietnam, 2 brands in South Africa. So because we removed escape buttons, all that happened. And if we had not removed escape buttons, and today about 27% of our turnover comes out of international business. And that gives us other advantages. It's just not growth. Growth, profitable growth. And we are also able to learn, go international, and we are able to test our talent in these international markets because 4 of the international markets, the bigger ones, they are run as profit centers. So we can put a CEO there, test out that CEO in that market at a small scale. So our overall succession planning pipeline for the CEOs also improves because we have 3-4 CEOs in 4 geographies. And if somebody is doing well, that person can become head of international business. Over a period of time, that person can become head of Marico also. So our succession planning in terms of profit center role and testing them through this route improves.
That's right. So, talking of disruption, of course, we spoke about disruption in marketing, distribution, but in general, disruptive technologies, they are impacting businesses in a big way.
True.
Any disruptive technology that you are very excited about?
In our business, it is not, the whole business will not get impacted, but all the digital technologies, AI, we have a separate team, and I think I'm not a technology person, so that's my weakness. But I am sure that the biggest disruptor for all business is going to be technology.
Yeah, because you don't have to be a technology person, but as long as you realize that technology is an enabler.
Correct.
And that enables so many things. Yeah.
So I, for one, believe that every organization, every business has to take the technology issues very seriously. And how can you capitalize on that? What can you do in the area of digital to improve your sales productivity, your marketing productivity, digital brands, what we launched? I think it's a continuous process and needs top management. It starts at the top. Top management has to say that what will we experiment, and they have to involve people down the line. And of course, a roadmap for technology initiatives has to be there in the organization, including prioritization. In our case, prioritization is more in the area of marketing, sales, supply chain management, because we see that as impact in the organization far more positively. So I think you have to have technology map, and it's continuous scanning of technologies and ensuring that you are leveraging your technologies to your advantage is a very, very important part of any business, because this is going to be the biggest disruptor.
And any leader, I mean,
yes,
yes, that's true. What next for Marico? I mean,
so Marico, now I stepped down in about 10 years back. And since then the business has done well. It's been a very good decision because the new MD was able to bring some new light to the business, new direction to the business. And in last 10 years itself, our shareholder value has increased by about 24% per annum. And from the time we have gone public, I think our in the range of 23-24% annualized shareholder value growth has happened. But what next? I think that the team has identified 4 or 5 areas where we want to grow. So the first area is the core. We need to ensure that the core remains strong, because the core is one which throws up a lot of cash, and we need to invest some of the cash in some new businesses. And then expansion into foods. We have launched oats, as I said, masala oats. Now we've launched Saffola honey, we've launched Saffola snacks, we've launched Saffola millets. So all that foods is one transformational initiative. Number 2, D2C brands I talked about. Number 3, international business. We see a bigger opportunity in international business. And currently we are present mainly in 4 big geographies like Bangladesh, Middle East, South Africa and Vietnam. But now we see it going to whole of Africa and other developed markets also. So international is the 3rd area of growth. And the 4th is the sales transformation, because as you rightly mentioned, the whole sales scenario has changed. So distributors' returns have dropped, the retailer has got impacted because of Q-commerce, e-commerce. So it needs a different approach to transformation. So we have a full-fledged agenda on, and the last one is premiumization. We see that with Indian incomes growing, the Indian consumer is going more towards premium range of products. So how can you premiumize your current offerings as well as launch some other new premiumized offerings?
Incomes growing, aspirations growing.
Correct, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So you just spoke about, stepping back. But if I look at your journey, it's really about you starting out with the family business, growing the family business, then delegating, then professionalizing. You brought in professionals at various high levels. And then actually, I think, institutionalizing the business, because now it runs without your, say, day-to-day involvement. When did you realize that, okay, this is the time for me to step back?
So I didn't take this action based on some earlier plan I had. It so happened that when I stepped down, the current incumbent was keen to be head of the company. And we had a very good equation with each other. So normally, he said, okay, my ambition is to head a company. And are there opportunities in Marico? Because I like the company, I like working with you. But if you have a mindset, and normally the promoter mindset in India is hierarchical.
Right.
You want your children to inherit you. So he was checking with me that, okay, and rightly, he was checking. There's no pressure or anything on at his end. Saying, okay, if you think that there's no opportunity, then I'll start looking out for, which is absolutely fair. So when he had that conversation with me, I discussed that with my board. And I think the board felt two. One is to say that, okay, you've been in this business, you built this business for many years, and maybe it needs a different leadership now, different leadership. Separately, the person who came to me also, we have to retain him. There is no way to retain that person if you don't promote him. So from all angles, it made sense. So I stepped down a little earlier than what I had originally thought. But I think normally whenever such decisions have to be taken, I have a thumb rule that, whatever the interest of the organization comes first.
Yes.
Because I am a promoter, and then there is Marico. So there is always a conflict between the promoter's interest and Marico's interest. And same thing with any other stakeholder, whether it is employees. But if you have that thumb rule that the organization's interests come first, whatever is good for the organization should be decided, not what is good for any stakeholder. So it was a good thing for Marico. And of course, it meant some degree of adjustment at my end. I wouldn't call it adjustment, much more than that.
Is it difficult to let go?
It is difficult because all of a sudden, I am not a kind of person who can just do nothing. I don't know the art of doing nothing. So I have to be involved, and I cannot sit at home. But I said, okay, I'll find out answers. So there was a lot of, shall I say, anxiety within me, at my personal level. And then on top of that, expectations from my son and my wife perceived that, okay, I had not discussed this openly with them. But how can you do something like that? I was almost setting in the Indian family managed businesses, some businesses had done this, but they had done it under certain different compulsions, because many family members were present. In my case, I was the only person from the family managing that business. So
no, you set an example which is very different in the sense that, okay, the families will inherit the ownership,
correct,
but the family does not necessarily inherit the role in running and managing a company, which is probably, I mean, it would have been difficult.
It was very difficult.
Yes.
But looking back, it has been a great decision from all angles. I have been able to do many things, fully occupied, including doing things like this. and I wrote
playing
a book.
Golf and
Golf is okay, but I think I have to be mentally involved. So doing that, philanthropy, personal philanthropy, advisory boards of private equity companies, some other board companies. My son has started a business which is doing very well. So now he can say that this is my baby.
Yes.
And I have not entered my father's business. So that pride is there and his overall confidence level, and he's been very, very successful in that business.
Yes.
So that has also worked out well.
Yes.
And the business has done well. So from all angles, it has been win-win, But at that time, it was a little bit, shall I say, I was very anxious, nervous about that move. But it's worked out wonderfully well.
That business is about investing in startups and so on, isn't it? And it's done very well. Some fantastic investments, Mammoth and Nykaa and Veera and so on. So when you look at investing in startups, what do you analyze as the winning strategy or a winning entrepreneur or a winning business?
So it's my son who manages it. He doesn't even come to me for decisions, but we have aligned in terms of what should we be. So we've said that we understand consumer-facing businesses because once that decision is made, I also spend time with all his investments in mentoring them. If it is a consumer-facing business, it's very, very easy for me to step into their shoes. And if need be, I can also invoke some of Marico people also to help them, whether it's sales, marketing, HR, distribution, whatever.
Yes.
But the key thing, at least, first thing I told him, you have to look at the entrepreneur. And you should be able to judge first entrepreneur and then the business. The business should have traction. Of course, the business should have potential. But mainly the business, the entrepreneur in terms of his ethics, his drive, ability to delegate, and then combine that with business potential. And mainly in consumer-facing business. Because that's what we understand.
Yes. You spoke about letting go and so on. So yes, you're not involved in the day-to-day management, but you're still the kind who's seen visiting, some of the supermarkets, some of the stores where Marico products are displayed and, having a look at how they are put on the shelf and so on. So what drives you to do that?
So I think the mindset is not of control. Mindset is of value addition. I think that's the mindset I come from. So
so it's not about that difficulty of letting go. It's about
24/7. No, hands off, but mind on 24/7.
Hands off, but mind on.
So even if I'm traveling for 1 month, I will not get a single phone call unless there is some crisis or something. But that's completely delegated. But I have review meetings with the management team. About 20% of my time I spend with the MD.
You're like a big strategic investor.
And I go on spending a lot of time in market, exploring what can we do differently. And whatever ideas I have, I discuss with the team.
Okay.
Yeah, our role has changed from promoter-driven to more strategic investor-driven company.
But talking about visiting your, the stores where there are Marico products, I recently saw a photograph on X where you've taken your grandchildren to a store in Worli where your products are, displayed. So what is that? I mean, are you trying to pass on the Mariwala entrepreneur spirit to them at this early age?
I'm just exposing them to different experiences. So when they come here, I take them to different places. I took them to the Shark Tank sets. I know some of the sharks, so I took them, spent 1 or 2 hours there. I took them to some museums there for children.
Nice
there is one museum with Sajan's daughter.
Very nice museum, yes.
So I find out excuse to involve them. Took them to some chocolate making workshops. So basically, and of course, I spend time with them, but doing something.
How old are they?
So they're 10 and 8.
10 and 8.
Yeah. And both the children, they have business mindset. They watch Shark Tank. So it's important for me to expose.
That's right. Yeah. So what is their reaction when they look at these Marico products?
No, they ask questions, and I encourage them to ask questions because I go to the market with the field force. So supervisor, distributor, rep. After the market visit, normally we go to a coffee shop and discuss what are our
Interesting.
What are our observations? And then feedback to the management team. So I encourage them to also interact with the team.
Again, talking about, Harsh Mariwala as a person, you initially said that everybody has this God's gift and you should know what is that God's gift.
Yeah.
So what is the God gift?
So I think I can understand business, provided it's non-technical business. If it is technology-related business, my understanding is very low. So understanding of business, understanding of consumer behavior, people in terms of HR, I am very passionate about people and the role of HR in terms of driving overall organizational success. Understand consumer, so marketing, distribution, HR are, I would say, relatively my strengths. If you come down to a functional area, I'm not at all. At the same time, you need to realize what you're not good at. So I'm not good at technology. I'm not good at pampering people. And those days when I started, most of my friends were spending a lot of time in Delhi getting a license. I could not do that. There was zero way I could do that. And I had to be in a business which had very little regulations. So thank God this business, I didn't have to go to Delhi at all. I have hardly been to Delhi for any of my business work. And I think that suited me because nor can I manage the B2B businesses where you have to interact with some buyer and take them out for dinners. And all. That's not me. So I think this has been a beautiful, shall I say, fit for me in terms of working with distributors, creating the culture, looking at the consumer, creating brands, not so much.
Not this extra networking and hobnobbing. In fact, it's interesting you say this because there is this one belief that for being successful in business, you need to be an extrovert, you need to go out, you need to take people out for dinners, you need to network and so on. But at the same time, there are a lot of successful leaders like Warren Buffett, like Bill Gates, who actually identify themselves as introverts. And
I also think I'm introvert.
So
I've changed a little bit now with, but initially I started off as a big introvert, but that really helped me because I would dig deeper. I would go on studying books, interacting with people, try and find my own answers.
What you're saying is actually supported by researchers. There's a research, I think I was reading it sometime, which says that in fact, the advantages that, say, introverts have is that they are able to collaborate more. They do not shy from sharing success or giving credit to others.
Also open to learning, always curious to learn. And no ego. So I think
all this resonates with you very clearly. Yes. I believe that life is a journey unscripted.
Agreed.
Can you tell me any moment in your life which was unscripted, which you did not see coming, which you did not expect it will happen, but when it actually happened, it brought about a huge change in your life or in your business?
So I think all formation of Marico, carving out Marico from Bombay Oil Industry, the family firm, happened because I wouldn't call it unscripted, but I had to do it. Otherwise, I would have struggled being a family man. Then there was a financial separation. There was some issue between the family. So all of a sudden it came up. Then I had to pay money to my other family members whom I had bought out. So I had to go public. So that also was not known. Planned. So going public was again unscripted. Again, I think life is like levers. Nobody expected that they will compete with us and I will acquire their brands. So there are many unscripted moments, in our journey. So it's good. I mean, many times it's difficult. Even D2C brands, emergence, all this was not known.
Yes. Yeah, I think the issue is that how do you take that unscripted portion, either if it comes as an opportunity and then you don't let it die, or even if it comes as a challenge, how do you learn from it and drive it and actually make a success out of it?
True.
Yes. I'll come to the last segment, which is I want you to just take very quick shots. Give me, your impromptu answer. Make a choice. So tell me, golf or gym?
Both. I can't. I need both.
You need both.
3 days a week I play golf, 4 days a week I do gym, but I need both.
Okay. Very dedicated routine on that. Okay. But golf, gym on one side and spending time with grandkids on the other side.
I think all can be combined. I can do golf, gym, and I can do multitasking. So I'm able to, I'm a good manager of time. So I'm able to do,
Do
if it is there in my list, I will do
You
everything
will do
together.
it. Yeah. But yeah, I think there is nothing more cherishable for a grandparent than to spend those few
I fully
moments
agree
with
with
grandchildren.
you. This
It's
is the best moment
best
of my life,
moments.
are with my grandchildren.
Yes. But I see, I mean, you can manage life in a very comprehensive manner and do all. Yeah. When you travel, solo travel or travel with people?
No, travel with people.
Travel with people.
Once only I have done solo travel, but travel with people.
And is it the mountains or the sea?
Clearly mountains.
Mountains?
Mountains by far. I will any day mountains.
Any holiday that you can think of that you still...
So I love going to Kunur, which is in South India. I go at least 2 to 3 times a year. It's a very nice, small hill station, not too many people, green through the year, best weather through the year. There's a golf course also. So I enjoy going there.
With family? Without?
Yes, with grandchildren.
With grandchildren.
And then my son will join also, his wife.
Okay. Book or Kindle?
Clearly book. Even newspapers also I have to read physically.
Read physically, yeah. I'm also the kind who in the morning wants to touch the newspaper.
Because I need to mark and all that. I can't do that.
And in books, is it management books or biographies?
So initially when I started it was management. Now it's more only biographies, I would say.
So I would actually say that your Harsh Realities, that is such a great combination of management lessons and biographies. It talks about your story.
Yes.
And at the end of each chapter, there's a kind of a management lesson in it. It's a great combination of that. Religious or spiritual?
Spiritual. I don't go to temples.
You don't go to temples.
But I believe a lot that there is some superpower existing. I have to do the right things. And if I do the right things, I don't need to go to temples.
That's right.
I don't pray also.
Karmas, you don't pray as well.
But I have to do the right things. I think that's more important. But spiritually, yes, fully.
Interesting. Bollywood or Hollywood?
Both, I would say. I'm not able to differentiate. Good movie. There has to be good movie or good serial.
But you're quite a movie buff. You watch a lot.
No, nowadays it's increased at home because it gives you flexibility at watching at home.
OTT. The OTT makes a difference, yes. Are you a intuitive decision maker or a decision maker based on data analysis?
I would say deliberate, not intuitive. I go a little bit more in detail and
analysis and so on. Yeah. Sometimes people get into this data paralysis.
Agreed.
Yes.
So you should be able to know, not get caught into
that. Yes, that's right. Who changed the world more, Steve Jobs or Bill Gates?
Well, Steve Jobs is one of my heroes, I would say, because of innovation. So I would think Steve Jobs.
Okay. X or LinkedIn?
I started off with X, but in the last 2-3 years, I have moved to LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is far better. It has far more depth. So if you ask me today, LinkedIn.
So great, Harsh. It was absolutely wonderful chatting with you.
Thank you. Thank you and wish you all the best. May you do many, many interesting episodes and succeed in this new journey you embark on. All the best.